So let's talk about the accent. This is one of our most common articulations. It comes up in all kinds of music, and we know usually, the one thing we always usually remember about an accent is this should be louder, right? So when we see an accent, we play that note louder. But what does that really mean? There's lots of different versions of playing louder. So let's look at some note shapes and see if we can understand what that really means. So if we just said that this note is supposed to be louder, and this is the volume of our basic note, then okay, well, this clearly is louder. Let's listen to this and see if we agree. Okay, so we've got a note right here. Sorry, that was a really bad attack. Let me try again. So then an accent, if you say, well, you play it louder, okay? Okay, so if the music was faster, that would be the difference. And if we played them two in a row, okay, so that's kind of true. But it turns out if you just do this and you've got a whole bunch of accented notes in a row, like we're going to look at on the next page, if you got a bunch of these in a row, it turns out the accent sort of loses its interest because all you're really doing is playing loud, and that's like dynamics. That's like just playing forte all of a sudden. And accents really mean this note should have some emphasis. This note should be played strong, but it should be played strong at the start of the note. So I'm going to take this one away for a minute. And let's go ahead and look at our another option. Okay, so here we go again. We've got our, I'm going to show this in just a moment. We've got our basic note and comparing it to our new shape over here, which is a wedge kind of a shape. And I'll take away this so it's not confusing us. An accent, actually, one of the features of an accent is that it has a little space in front of it. And that's so that we go from zero to loud when we hear an accent. So we're going from zero, which is this gap space in between, and we're going immediately to a nice strong attack at the beginning of this note. So as soon as we land on the attack right here, it's going to sound really strong because you're going from zero to that volume. And this can happen fast, but it only happens if you leave space between the accented note and the note before it. So one of the features of an accent is it always has space. The other part of this example is the wedge shape. So we're going to leave a little space, we're going to play nice and strong, but then we're actually going to taper and let the note sort of die away a little bit. And that's okay, especially if you have another accent coming up. Because if you have another accent coming up, you're going to have to leave some space, and then you're going to play another one of these wedge shapes. And notice that as you do this, you're actually creating a new moment of exciting loudness at the beginning of each new accent. If we don't sort of die away from the accents, then they just end up sounding really loud, like my example a minute ago. So let me show you what it sounds like. So as long as I have some space in between, there's just two notes. You can hear how it kind of dies away. Now I'll do all three. Imagine there's another one of these. Imagine there's two of these, right? One here, one here. Let's try it together. Listening. Okay, that has a little bit better shape to it, and we can understand the different accents there. I'll go faster. Okay, I probably should have had a little more space. Try again. That makes my accents a little clearer and a little more powerful. So we're really on track here for making a nice accent if we think about the wedge shape. The wedge shape can really be a good way to think about how to play an accent without just playing loud all the time. So let's look at one last example of how we could play an accent. If we have an accented long note and we die away, like I did a moment ago, because I was getting pretty soft by the end of that note, then what do we do for the rest of the note when it's longer? So here's a 4-beat note. It has to last a long time. So what we do is we do the same exact start. We're going to accent at the top, da, and then we're going to bring it down and hold it. And this goes right along with another skill we learn in band called balance, where if we have a long note, we already know we should play it a little softer. So here's what that note would sound like. You'd be playing along. And here it comes. probably held that longer than 4 beats, but you get the idea. So that note right there would be an example of how to accent a long note. It's only the beginning part that needs the accent. If you stay loud, remember our original example was like, oh yeah, you just play that note louder. Oh, trumpets. Hey, trumpets, could you quiet down on that giant whole note that we don't need to hear so loud? So this does not just mean play loud. There's already a thing for that. It's forte. This means play the beginning of the note loud and then kind of let it taper away. And it turns out, fun fact, that the accent is kind of already this shape. So if you ever forget, check this out. You ready? Watch this. A little bit of magic. And you can remember that the accent is already like a wedge shape. It's already basically, oh goodness, it's already pretty much this shape. So if you ever forget how to play an accent the right way, I don't know how to get back to it, but you can see like, oh, it's loud at the beginning and then it tapers off, right? So an accent is already telling you how to play it, but it's important to see the shape. So finally, for the examples, we understand that in order for these accents to all sound accented in a row, I need a little bit of space between each one. And I need to make sure that each of these sounds like a little wedge. Each of these should be a little bit wedge-shaped. So I'm not going to draw them all, but let's see if we can hear some wedges. Up, up, here I go. I made up one extra note at the end. But you heard all those accents in a row, especially here. Especially here. Notice how I'm having to shorten the notes because I have to have space. So I make them a little shorter because every accent has to have space before it. Now, looking down here, if I was playing along and had some 16th notes, in this case, I'm emphasizing the beat, which is beat 3. So this accent says, hey, make sure that that first 16th note is strong. And in this case, it's going to feel strong, and it's going to take me to the next beat. Listen to it. Sorry, I added an accent on the first note. Let me start again. I played more notes than there were, but hopefully you heard where those accents were. So they're strong, they're separated, and they're kind of wedge-shaped. So that is the best way to think about an accent, and I always try to remember to think about this wedge shape, and for a long note, just remember to come down from the note and then hold it at a reasonable volume, because this does not mean loud, it means accent.